In this video, we're going to talk about creating and managing Active Directory groups. In order to do this, you need to launch the Active Directory Users and Computers console. I'm on my DC1 domain controller. It's a domain controller for the dev.com domain. In Server Manager, I can come over here to Tools and then click on Active Directory Users and Computers. At this point, we can create our groups. Where you put those groups is subject to opinion. There are two general lines of thought where this is concerned among system administrators. Some system administrators like to put their groups in the same organizational unit with the users who will be members of that group. For example, I have an OU here called India. Inside of IN is another organizational unit called Sales. Oh wait, I don't have users here. But I have another organizational unit for United States. I have several users here. One option would be to create my group right here, inside of the user's OU, and then make these users members of that group. Or actually, we can create an OU dedicated to just groups here inside the parent OU. Or we can create an OU dedicated to just groups inside domain, then no matter where the users are located in Active Directory, we put all of the groups in the same OU. Which is best? It actually really doesn't matter. What does matter is that you pick a strategy, and you are very consistent about using it. Me, personally, I like to put my group's OU in the same context as the user's parent OU. Why? Well, because usually the users in the same OU here, all my sales users, for example, will need a very similar level of access to network resources. Therefore, it only makes sense to create my group OU right here and make those users members of it. You'll have to decide for your organization which way works best. Because my sales users here can need a similar level of access to network resources, I want to make them members of some groups. So, I'm going to right-click my sales groups container, and I'm going to click on New and then click on Group to create my new group here. I'm going to give it a name of Sales Admins. Now I need to decide the group scope and the group type. For the group scope, I have three different choices: domain local, global, or universal. Remember, a global group groups together users and computers. Domain local groups together rights and permissions. Universal is used when we're dealing with a system that's composed of many different Active Directory forests and domains. For our purposes today, we want to create a group that contains users and computers, so we're going to leave global selected. It's the default selection. Then we have to select the group type over here. There are two different options: security and distribution. Distribution groups can only be used for distribution lists, such as for Microsoft Exchange. The key thing to remember about distribution groups is the fact that they cannot be used for security. For example, let's suppose I have a folder here on the file system of the server, and I want to grant a group permission to access that folder. If it is a distribution group, I can't actually do it because a distribution group cannot be used as a security principle for NTF permissions. Security groups, on the other hand, can. Security groups can be used for either security or for distribution. Because we're going to be creating a group full of users and we want to be able to use that group to manage access to network resources, we need to create a security group for this situation. Click OK. So, we've created our first security group. By the way, if you're not sure of the kind of group you have created, you can look right here, under Type, and it will tell you. This is a global security group. You can create other types of groups, as well. If I come up here into my toolbar, I can also click this button and create a new group. The same interface is displayed as right-clicking on the container. Let's make another group, but let's make this one a domain local group. Let's call it Sales Temp. It would be a domain local group because it would be listed here, under Type. I'm going to mark domain local. It is a security group. Click OK. So, I've got my standard global security group, but I also have my domain local security group. At this point, we've got our groups created, but they're not populated. There is nobody in them. For example, if I were to open up Sales Admins and go to the Members tab, there are no users who are members of this group yet. We need to fix that. Let's go down to Add. Then we can click on Advanced and hit Find Now. Now I can find the users that I want to add to the group. I want to add Bob Marshall to this group, so I'll scroll down here. I'll find Bob Marshall. Click OK. Click OK again. Then I'll click Apply. The use is now a member of this group. Be very careful when you're adding users to the group because there are two tabs that look a lot the same: Members and Member of. Members in the properties of a group specifies the users who are members of that group. Members of specifies other groups that this particular group is a member of because in Active Directory, it is possible for one group to be a member of another group. I've added the users to my group. Click OK. Now, if I go look at the properties of my Bob Marshall user and then go to the Member of tab on the properties of the user, note that he's now a member of Sales Admin. In fact, you can use that Member of tab in the properties of a user object to add a user to membership in a group. That's it for this video. In this demo, we talked about how to create and manage groups in Active Directory. We first talked about how to create a global security group. Then we talked about how to create a domain local security group.